Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the Knife Center, and welcome to Knife AQ number 98, the series where I answer all your questions, whether they're sharp or dull. And this week, I've got another stupid knife story to share, and is G10 going to kill you? Welcome everyone. If you've not seen one of these videos before, the deal is, we go through our comments section and pick out some of the good questions we see there to feature in these episodes. So if you want a chance to have your question featured, do that thing. Leave them in the comments below. But first, before our first question today, we've got another stupid knife story to share. Thank you everyone who sent in and shared the absolute dumb things we've all done with knives over the years. But this one more kind of stuck out to me. Chris S. says, I was unloading dishes from the dishwasher, and I dropped a brand new Henckels 10-inch chef's knife, tip down. The tip missed the pinky side of my foot, but the blade didn't. It cut through the side of my shoe and down to the bone on the side of my foot. The white kitchen tile looked like a murder scene. So what I'm taking from that comment is the stupid knife mistake you made was, you put it in the dishwasher. This all could have been avoided.
Then you wouldn't have had a kitchen lawn dart.
Kitchen lawn dart. I can see it now. Oh man. Let's put some fletching on the back of this and
not attempt.
Some fins. Yeah. Oh, I got Gorilla Tape over there. We could make some fins for this and just, yeah, no.
No.
Some of the best ideas are.
We'll clock out first.
Yeah, we'll do it off of school property, so to speak. All right, into the first question for today, which comes from Dutch. Lately, I've been a bit worried about basically all my knives with G10 scales, since reading up about the health hazards being basically those of asbestos. I don't grind or sand them down or anything, but I do work in construction, so they can receive a beating. I'm also worried about tiny particles getting deposited on my clothing each time I put the knife in my pocket and pull it out again, with the pocket clip pressing firmly against the fabric. Should I just forgo G10 and opt for steel and wood? Should I sell all my G10s? I've collected about 60 or more since childhood with the Boy Scouts. All right, this is a medical question, technically.
Not doctors.
So we must say that thing. We are not doctors. This is not medical advice. It should not be construed as medical advice.
We don't have stethoscopes. We don't have the blood pressure cuffs. Like
sphygmomanometer. You could get one of those band things with the little CD-ROM on the headband.
It'll be an actual CD.
It'll be a tiny CD and a like, yeah. We'll make it work. Anyway, we are not doctors. This is not medical advice. However, this is kind of much ado about nothing, I think. There's not really anything you have to worry about in your situation. G10 basically is only going to be harmful to you if you inhale the dust. And talking about like a tiny bit coming off, if you inhaled one mote of G10, come on, you're going to be all right. But if you're working in an industrial application where the G10 is getting sanded or ground, chances are you're going to be wearing the proper protective gear anyway, and that's why a lot of knife makers actually like to, when they're working with G10, will like to work with it wet to kind of keep the dust down even further. Yeah, it's only really harmful if you're going to inhale that dust. But the same is true for many materials, not just G10. Carbon fiber, micarta, stabilized woods. You mentioned wood, even some non-stabilized woods. People in carpentry working with, standard timber also are wearing, the proper protective gear because that stuff can also be harmful when breathed. But I think chances are if you're working in construction, the fumes from the equipment around you is going to be far more harmful for you long-term than the G10 knife in your pocket. So I wouldn't worry about it.
Wash your clothes.
Good advice for anyone, I would say.
You gotta wash towels too. I learned that one.
Tell me how you learned that one.
The internet.
I can't. All right. The next question comes from Herbie Husker. Hey DCA, I'm looking for a lightweight EDC and I've narrowed it down to the Wee Banter versus the Spyderco Chaparral. Both are in the same price range. While lightweight is a consideration, being able to get a 4-finger grip is also high on my priority list. Does that make the Chaparral the winner here with its forward finger choil? Would love your thoughts on how these two compare. Sure thing. You're right, both good knives, both in similar price ranges. You said lightweight is the consideration, but it's not the ultimate decider. But the lightest weight one of the Chaparral, I have one over here actually, is going to be the FRN version. Comes in about 2 ounces. And the lightest Banter is going to be the carbon fiber version, which is about 2.6. So just for comparison's sake, I'll compare it to the carbon fiber Chaparral, which is about 2.4 ounces. Kind of in the same ballpark. Actually, let me talk about the Chaparral first here. It is a kind of a smaller knife in general. It is and it isn't. As you can see, the overall length is about the same, but it has a smaller feel to it. And that's going to come into play here as I talk about the grip. In terms of actual length of grippable area, you can see me comparing the Banter here lined up right with the front end of that choil towards the back, and clearly the Chaparral has the quote-unquote advantage there with length. And with my finger in that choil, yeah, I can get all 4 of my fingers on that handle quite easily. And just as a non-scientific ballpark reference, my hands are slightly larger than average. I tend to wear either a large or X-large size work glove, depending on the brand. However, even though I've got more length and I can get all 4 of my fingers on that Chaparral, to me, personally, the Banter has a more solid feel, or a fuller grip in the hand, even though it's almost a 3.5 finger grip, but yeah, I can actually get all 4 of my fingers there as well. It's a little bit taller and a little bit thicker, and the shape of it just in general has a fuller feeling grip to me. Ultimately, I think that will play into it a little bit. Also, you know, the advantage of that is, or the advantage of the way the Banter is constructed while having that fuller grip, you actually get more edge than on the Chaparral as well. You're talking XHP steel on the Chaparral, S35 VN on the Banter. Yeah, they're different, but edge retention is not going to be dramatically different between the two, I don't think. So you should get more out of the Banter because of that extra edge right there. However, let's talk about the slicing efficiency of these. Check out the thickness of the blade steel here. The Chaparral is definitely the winner on thinness, if that's your thing. That being said, the Banter, while a little bit thicker, is not that much thicker. Both of these are going to be pretty efficient slicers. If you want even more edge retention, I would say go with the KnifeCenter exclusive here in purple with the 20 CV blade. Just know that that blade is going to be a little bit thicker still than the S35 VN Banter. Still not prohibitively thick, but you know, take that into consideration too. If you're looking for the purest slicing efficiency, I'd go with the Chaparral. If you're looking for the best feeling grip between the two, I think the Banter has a bit more. It's got a bit more to grab onto. So hope that helps. The purple Banter there is about a 3-ounce knife too, so keep that in mind. All right, next question comes from Paul Brown. Hi DCA, I was wondering which knife was most often featured on this segment. Do you keep such stats? If so, which steel is most featured? I'm guessing D2, thanks. It's kind of fun. Like, we don't keep stats for that sort of thing, because I don't think we'd have much reason to keep such a stat. And I'm not going to make Thomas go through all these old videos and tabulate all that.
You can't make me.
Yeah, probably true. I realize you say this segment. I was kind of thinking channel-wide. D2's definitely in with a shout for the most featured steel. But 20 CV and its equivalents, M390, 204P, that sort of stuff, is probably up there as well. Because chances are, if it's premium, especially if it's premium and has a titanium handle, it's got one of those analogs, one of those high-end steels. They're just prolific, but there's a ton of cheap D2 knives or inexpensive D2 knives out there as well. So I took a look here, and right now we've got on the website 1,310 active SKUs of product with D2 steel and 1,117 of 20 CV and its equivalents. So technically by that D2 wins, but that doesn't count all of the high-end stuff, the sprint runs, the self-published blades, some of the stuff that comes out in drops like the Chavez knives, that sort of thing, that disappear off the website essentially when they're sold out, and a lot of those have those steels as well.
To say nothing of customs.
To say nothing of customs as well, yeah. So a lot of that stuff kind of disappears from that official count of live active items. Given that a lot of the stuff gets featured on the new knives segments, it'd probably be the 20 CV genre, but D2 would be a close second, I think.
S35 is probably up there too.
Yeah, and in fact, I didn't look to see how many S35s were on the website right now. But in the spirit of your question on things being most frequently featured, I decided to grab a few of each that have never been on this channel before, whether on the new knives videos or the Knife AQ segments. Thought it'd be cool to look at. I've got a couple D2 knives here. This was a fairly expensive one for the materials, but a Bastinelli red frame lock folder, 250 bucks, made by Lion Steel. 3.4-inch blade, and I really like that blade shape. Full flat grind, awesome looking drop point. I like the swedge. I like the angle it takes from the handle. We got some nice safe G10 on the front and titanium on the back. Deep clip with a
pointer.
Glass breaker, that's the word. Very cool. IKBS ball bearings, as you can see right there. And the action, very, very satisfying indeed. Really cool tactical knife that is going to be a great EDC. How about this knife? The Artisan Cutlery Hoverwing. Definitely a stylized thing. And stylized is probably not my thing in particular, but it's a 4-inch D2 knife with a stainless steel frame lock for 65 bucks. Pretty decent deal there. And it's got a full grip in the hand too. Ball bearings in the pivot with that frame lock. I believe these are ball bearings. Yes, yes, yes. And good flipping action. Really cool, really solid, and I've never even held one before today when we're filming this video. That's cool. One more, the Boker, forget the name, the Leviathan. I wanted to call it the Stout because that's the designer, JB Stout. The Leviathan. Thomas, are you happy now?
Yeah, I'm good.
You know why, don't you? But we've got that nice stout blade, appropriate, just over 3 inches long, stainless steel frame lock with some milling relief here on the bend of the lock bar, which is nice. G10 on the front again. We have ball bearings in the pivot here. Yes. Very cool. Very strong feeling little knife too. Let's see, I haven't tried the reverse flick on it yet. Oh, come on. I'm hopeless. I'm sorry, you folks. But those are some 3 D2 knives that I've never featured on a video. So how about some M390s? That's what I wound up grabbing, which again is the same steel as 20 CV, just made by a different company. This is the QSP Legatus. That is a cool blade shape indeed. About 280 for this M390, 3 3/8 of an inch titanium with these cool inlays. That's a red G10 and carbon fiber laminate. So you see both of those kind of colors going on both sides too, it should be said. The fit and finish is great. Everything is not overly complex, but really finely done. We've got ball bearings and that good flipping action. Like the ability to choke up on this particular one. That's just a really cool blade shape. Dig the high flat grind on that. How about an Italian knife, the Viper Italo? Could it possibly be Italian? Yes, it is. 250 for these, 3 3/4 inch M390 blade. Really nice handles here. We've got a carbon fiber on the front and titanium on the back. Both of them have a nice contour to them. as well as some curved milling lines going on. Looks great, fills the hand pretty nicely, and you've got a pretty aggressive thumb plate there on the front that will give you that point for really pressing down with your thumb in a saber grip if you need to. Deep ride wire pocket clip, which is cool. Actually, I haven't tried this yet, but we will have to see. I bet you could wave that knife open with that thumb plate right there. We'll have some B-roll here to confirm or deny. The rest of the blade itself, really cool shape, crown spine, full flat grind, very cool. Deep ride wire pocket clip too, so it's a lot of knife that would be kept nice and subtle in your pocket. And then this one, which is maybe the weirdest one on the table. And I don't mean weird as like bad, but just a little different. This is the Real Steel Harrier. Comes in about $240. You got a 3-inch M390 blade. Titanium handles, which are bead blasted, and then 2 carbon fiber inlays on the front side. A little bit chunkier. You got some thickness there. You've got a cool blade shape with this pretty aggressive, we'll say fuller or milled out space, a slot essentially on the front there. I've flipped it and the flipping works great. It's a cool little shape. I have not tried yet to see if I can reverse flick it. Let's see. I'll embarrass myself again on camera. Maybe not. And of course you've got those thumb studs there that also act as the blade stop on the frame, the stop pins on the frame too. So that is pretty cool. Anyway, 6 knives that have never been seen on this YouTube channel before. There we go. That's cool, that was fun. All right, that brings us to our lightning round for today. Matthew Glebus asks, my question is, what is the best way to clean G10 scales? I've got a Spyderco Manix 2 with Blurple G10 and I can't get them clean. I have a Blurple Para 3 here to demonstrate. G10 is pretty durable stuff. You could get in there and scrub pretty aggressively with it. You could even get in there real easily with a like the back of a Scotch-Brite pad or something like that, like you get in the kitchen sponges. You may start to actually wear it down a little bit. So a little bit of moisture could help there if you're worried about particulate in the air. Not that I would particularly be worried about that, but maybe, I'm not sure how stained it is and if it's truly a stain, you might have to actually remove some material, but maybe Barkeeper's Friend, I use that on blades a lot. Haven't tried that on G10, but I bet it would work pretty decently. But don't be afraid to put some elbow grease behind it because G10 can definitely stand up to some hard scrubbing. Which brings us to our last question of the day, our most serious question of the day. And this is an historic most serious question of the day, because I'm not going to answer this one, because one of you folks have already answered it in the comments and I couldn't think of anything better and I thought it was great. So Simon RC asks, when car camping on arrival to the site, which knife would you find best for cutting off the engine as fast as possible? And our good friend Arrowhead Guys, who's a frequent commenter, says SOG folding key knife, obviously. Bravo, my man. There you go. That I couldn't think of a better answer than that. Perfect. 13, 14 bucks too, something like that. Anything to add, Thomas?
Nope.
Oh, good. Usually it's when there's a car thing, Thomas has an opinion, but I guess not today. Well, that's all we have for this episode. Thank you folks for your questions up to this point, and keep leaving your new questions in the comments section below and it might get featured in a future episode. If you liked any of these knives, check out the links in the description. They'll take you to KnifeCenter.com. And don't forget about our Knife Rewards program, because if you're buying one of these knives today, you might as well be earning some free money to spend on your next one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera, and we're signing off. See you next time.
You could say my comments stalled out.
It did indeed. Very nice, very nice.